When the War Department finally yielded to public pressure in 1941, they didn't celebrate equality, they tested it. They called it the Tuskegee Experiment, not the Tuskegee Squadron. A remote Alabama airfield, second-hand aircraft, skeptical white officers, every detail was meant to prove the same old theory right. But the architects of this experiment made one fatal mistake. They forgot that when you corner a man and tell him he can't rise, you give him no choice but to soar. Training at Tuskegee was brutal. Every hour of flight was a battle not against gravity, but against expectation. White cadets trained 200 hours. These men flew 300. Their washout rate was 60%. Colonel Noel Parrish, a fair but relentless commander, demanded mechanical precision and emotional control. Every error could destroy not just one career, but the dream of an entire generation. Each flight was a quiet rebellion in the sky. On July 2nd, 1943, the moment came. Lieutenant Charles B. Hall spotted two Focke-Wulf 192nds diving toward his bombers over Sicily. Flying an outdated P-40, he pulled a perfect intercept, one burst of 50 caliber tracers, one explosion. Hall's victory wasn't just aerial, it was psychological. For the first time, a black pilot had destroyed one of Hitler's best. And across the Mediterranean, every mechanic, armorer, and ground crewman felt the same surge of pride. The wall had cracked. 6 months later, the war tested them again, this time over Anzio, Italy. 15 Tuskegee pilots faced a storm of Luftwaffe fighters. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and expected to fail. But the 99th Squadron fought like men who had nothing left to prove except everything. In 2 days, they shot down 12 enemy planes. When the smoke cleared, even their harshest critics fell silent. The experiment had passed every test the world could throw at it. May 1944, Italy. The 99th was merged with 3 other squadrons to form the 332nd Fighter Group. They were now flying sleek P-51 Mustangs, silver bodies, crimson tails. Their commander, Colonel Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., gathered the men and laid down a single law. We are not here to chase glory. Our mission is simple, bring the bombers home. While other groups broke formation for kills, the Red Tails stayed. They became a wall of discipline, a moving fortress in the sky. And to the bomber crews who watched them through bullet-riddled windows, they were angels with red wings. At first, the bomber crews didn't know who these new escorts were. All they saw were flashes of crimson weaving through flak and smoke. But after each mission, one fact became clear. Bombers escorted by the Red Tails came home more often. Soon, briefing rooms buzzed with one question. Who's flying cover today? When the answer came, the 332nd, a cheer would ripple through the room. The men once labeled unfit for combat had become the most requested protectors in the sky. Berlin, the heart of the dying Reich. The Red Tails were tasked with the longest, most dangerous escort mission of the war. A 1,600-mile round trip to protect bombers striking the Daimler-Benz tank works. Intelligence warned of something new. Messerschmitt Me, 262 seconds, the world's first jet fighters. They were faster than anything with a propeller, armed with 30mm cannons. But the Red Tails studied their weakness: poor acceleration and wide turns. When the silver jets appeared, roaring past at lightning speed, Lieutenant Roscoe Brown didn't panic. He waited, turned away, then cut sharply into their blind spot. I pulled into a 15-degree climb and fired 3 long bursts, he wrote. 1 jet burst into flame. That day, the Red Tails downed 3 Me, 262 seconds. Proof that discipline and patience could outfly even the future. Not all of them came home. 32 Tuskegee pilots were shot down and captured. Among them, Lieutenant Alexander Jefferson, his Mustang hit by flak over southern France. In a German POW camp, Jefferson discovered a bitter irony. White American prisoners, men he had saved, treated him as an equal. They shook his hand, thanked him for the red tail protection. Inside Nazi Germany, he felt more human than he did back home. But when he was liberated and stepped onto American soil, he was segregated again, the same old lines drawn, as if victory hadn't changed a thing. He had defeated fascism abroad, only to face its shadow at home. When the war ended, the numbers spoke louder than any propaganda. 15,000 sorties, 1,578 missions, 112 enemy aircraft destroyed in the air, 150 on the ground. a German destroyer sunk by machine gun fire, and a bomber protection record unmatched in the 15th Air Force. But their greatest victory wasn't counted in kills. It was written in policy. In 1948, President Harry Truman signed Executive Order 9981, ending segregation in the U.S. military. The men who began as an experiment had become architects of change. And though decades passed before full recognition, their contrails over Berlin still whisper the truth, that courage is colorless, and discipline, not prejudice, keeps men in the sky. In 1925, the U.S. Army War College published a report that would stain American history for decades. It claimed, with the false confidence of science, that black men were unfit for combat, lacking courage, intellect, and discipline. This document didn't just reflect prejudice, it institutionalized it. For nearly 2 decades, this lie shaped policy, training, and opportunity. And yet, less than 20 years later, the same army would depend on the very men it once dismissed to fly, to fight, and to save thousands of lives. This is the story of the Tuskegee Airmen, the men who painted their planes red and rewrote the meaning of flight.